Well, spring fever has people on the move, and whether you're traveling within the United States or going overseas, don't forget to mind your money. Well, Michael Bonds is a vice president and financial consultant with Charles Schwab, and today we are discussing money moves for traveling. Hi, Mike.
Good morning.
This is a big deal when you're traveling. It's so much about the money. So who else besides family and friends need to actually know that we're leaving town?
Well, probably the institutions that you're going to be dealing with, especially
Okay.
financially, and that's what most people probably overlook. There's a couple reasons for that. One is when they see an odd transaction come through that isn't normally within your spending range, such as if you're overseas,
Right.
they can freeze your assets until they can contact you to make sure that it's you that made the charge. So you always want to notify your financial institution.
That's a great point.
The other reason is fraud. You always want to let them know where you're going to be traveling to at least. I'll give you a great example. A client of mine went to South America. And while they were gone, I got an email requesting a wire transfer from them, from their email address that I had on file to Europe.
Okay.
Well, immediately I knew that it was fraudulent because I knew they were going to South America. So we moved that into the fraud department. We were able to squash anything that could have damaged their credit or their finances. So things to keep in mind.
These are really good tips. So this is the thing, is when you're actually already at the airport, is it a little too late to be thinking about managing our money? I mean, what do we do in advance so that we don't have to wait till those last minute?
Well, a couple things. You want to make sure you have your contact information for all your financial institutions, special international calling numbers, because if something does go awry or you do get compromised, you can contact them and get it corrected.
Okay.
The other thing you want to do is also have a backup line of finance. So if something does happen while you're away, you've got a way to be able to access funds until you can get something.
Like an emergency fund.
Exactly. You want to always have a backup, especially if you're going to be out of the country.
So let's say we're out of the country or even in the United States and we've got all this money with us. How do we keep our finances safe and also accessible at the same time while we're traveling?
All the things that we had talked about. You also want to make sure that when you are traveling that you don't use public computers to access your finances. And you always, on the Wi-Fi networks that you'll find in a lot of resorts, if they're not trusted, don't do any of your financial information.
And they'll usually give you that warning, right? It'll say this is not a trusted website.
Correct, but try to take care of all that stuff ahead of time and know where your money access points are. The other thing is to make sure that ATMs are available if you need those, what the costs may be.
Yeah, because don't they often have an additional fee?
They do. They can be upwards of $8 per transaction on foreign soil. You also want to make sure that what the foreign exchange fees might be.
Okay.
So those are the things that you can always do your homework on before you leave the country.
So just by being in the know, but there's no way to really avoid those fees?
No way to avoid them, but you can look at the institutions that you work with, much like Charles Schwab's investor checking account. We reimburse all ATM fees worldwide. We don't have any account fees. We don't have any foreign exchange fees. So it gives you more control over your money. And
it's comforting. And next week, I also want to comfort everybody by letting them know that Charles Schwab is hosting the Essential Schwab Toolbox. So let's tell them those details real quickly.
Well, it's going to be at Four Hills Country Club, a great partner of ours. It's going to be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And for those folks who are just wanting to investigate Charles Schwab and what we have to offer, it's a good time to come and visit us.
Very nice. Well, thank you so very much, as always.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Advice.